Underwater Astrology presents Underwater Astrology free podcast on YouTube with Ava Molchan. Hi guys, so I'm here today, kind of here to present to you guys what I think we need to do as a collective to move forward. Light workers, angelic beings, like honestly, reevaluate your social media right now with Pluto and Aquarius. Is it really social to be on social media? What is socialization for you? And what is the development of your psychology right now with Pluto and Aquarius? Is purely intellectual. I want you guys to think about the earth signs and how they live. And I think we should, even though we're in Pluto and Aquarius, air signs are totally in spirit guides right now. They're going to help us get out of the worst places in our life, the air signs. The water signs are going to help push us into more confidence in what we know. Earth signs are going to help us with the abundance of simplicity. And fire signs are going to help us basically alchemize this whole combination of I have somewhat of a desire, and it's not impossible to attain, but working with the time and the limits. And that's the thing. The fire signs now are getting a bit frustrated because, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, they want to move forward. They want to get all these things done, especially with Chiron and Aries, Sun and Aries. Let's move forward. But we have to realize our soul group, our soul tribe was reincarnated at this time to deal with these difficulties and learn how to maneuver through them with the strategic development of our own psyche, realize how to empower ourselves. But at this time, there is a split between, obviously, the genders, because there is misogyny, and that is implemented in these social structures. And how is that taking over the mental sphere of men, and how is that taking over the mental sphere of women? I cannot speak on behalf of men. I don't identify as a man. I identify as a woman, cis, female. You know what I mean? So I realize that there is misogyny, and these are implemented in very subtle ways. And women now, I think as a woman, I have to pull back, and I have to be how has this affected me? For example, I hear men talk about social media a lot more than I hear women talk about social media. I hear women talk a lot about confidence and magnetism. Women are always talking about this is how you should be confident, and this is how you're going to be magnetic. I hear men talk about now, in my group, a lot of men are talking about social media kind of pointing to culture and also somewhat mentioning shadow work. So I think it's just a beautiful combination to hear both sides. You know what I mean? I think it's beautiful that there are men in my life, and there are men now who are doing the shadow work to attain more long-term relationships and really realize that it's not all at once with these relationships. It takes time and progress. And those are the wise men out there who work through their own needs and give attention to themselves and understand themselves on a very intimate level, so that when they go out and they meet women and they socialize, even as friends, they have this awareness of, I'm here for this person regardless. And I think working with this concept of unconditional love is just so important right now. I believe in God, I believe in higher power, I believe in the universe, I believe everything is in balance. I believe that social media has taken over some of our minds and really started implementing these sick ideas of who we are. I don't think like I said in my last podcast, I don't think we are the people we portray through these images and these pixels online. Yet I do think, because there are some people who are now super hyper aware of the 4D space, it is really important to know your presence somewhat when entering the 4D space on these apps, because they're getting higher and higher AI levels. The pixels are raising. I don't even know how much of what these cameras can really see in my house. Does it leave me paranoid? No, but I'm aware that the cameras on these apps, and you can play with the levels of pixelation of these cameras. You can have a somewhat bad computer yet play up the pixelation on an app, and all of a sudden you're seeing like spy cam. Like, you can see maybe a picture, like, let's say like there was a UFO sighting, and all of a sudden you see like a full-on alien in clear. You know what I mean? And I think it's just important to be like really aware entering the 4D space now, coming into Pluto and Aquarius. These spaces are heightened with hyper intelligence, hyper AI. You know, they're doing research on social media. There's a bunch of statistics on what they say about it. I think it's important to socialize, but I think what I said about shadow work on the more masculine perspective and kind of becoming more confident in the feminine is two things that the society, should be working towards. I think a little bit of shadow work on our social media presence wouldn't hurt. Like, I think, honestly, getting off of social media is just a really good idea right now. I think it's hyper-pressed with ads. You're not even realizing this stuff is so subconscious that it's kind of playing with your attitude, your general demeanor in the day. You know, when I was younger, I used to get a report card, and it used to be like, you know, you could get a really high grade for effort, but a really low grade in attainment. And it's like, with social media, like, your effort is there, but your attainment, like, what do you really want? It might not be there, and that might be really disappointing. It could be the likes. It could be, you know, you're just not feeling like you're using it like some of your peers, or some of the other people are getting more likes or getting more revenue or generating more followers, and that could be really stressful. I think also this whole idea of our voice being so unique and individuated is another concept. I think really now I don't really look for an individuated voice. I look for direction, and I look for humanity, and I look for simplicity. I think when you go on social media, you try so hard to be different and isolate yourself in a box, and we just went through a pandemic of deep isolation and deep, like, you know, separation in the communities. Why create more separation and more isolation in who you are against, you know, kind of this field? I think it's very interesting, though, and I think some people can play with it very interestingly, and they can kind of recreate themselves and dissolve in the stratosphere, and that's fun. But this is the 4D space. So the 4D space is not the same as the 3D space. I think really, really, one thing I want people to really think about, the concept, the psychology of coloring your computer. I think it's really important to realize the colors of things can trigger us into different and healthier thinking patterns. I just laced my computer with the color purple, and that was really fun because now I'm thinking on a higher consciousness. Purple is just higher consciousness, you know, higher divination. It's just a higher vibration. It's the crown chakra. And again, creating more detachment is not bad. I think not detachment from people per se, but from detachment from these apps. I think when you really, really play down the loudness of the ads and the loudness of, you know, the news and the chaos and all the bad behavior in society, what you see is just a field of higher consciousness. And that's what I've been experiencing this past week. Just since the last podcast, I've been experiencing a field of higher consciousness, going into sound healing and exploring these sound bowls. I finally got the full Tibetan sound bowl, so that was really nice. And just experimenting with the vibrations of the root chakra, that's been really fun. The sacral, the solar, the heart especially, that's where I find myself mostly and most of the time. And I used to say before, I used to find myself in the root, but now I cannot even play with not being in the heart. I think life is the heart in so many ways, and sure, there's emotions that arise that are very confusing in this time, like potentially like, how am I going to pay the bills in the future and things. But I think if we constantly add to the stratosphere of hope, to this space of love, to this space of contribution, to this space of I see you for who you are and I value you no matter how much money you have in your bank account, those feelings, if you can start journaling and noticing those feelings where people are valuing you regardless of how much money you have in your bank account, you know what I mean? Just remember, like, it really doesn't matter. And I think in a lot of ways the reason why I have such a problem with social media is because you try to be perfect. And that's really difficult in a time like now when it's filled with imperfection, filled with holes, filled with confusion, filled with, distrust and so many different structures we had that had fallen. And now we have kind of the remains of a structure. And we'll get into structures of civilization in the next few videos. But I think, as a structure of civilization, it's, I think it's important to realize, we had kings and queens in Europe, and America had presidents, and I think learn how to be the CEO of your life. You know what I mean? Pluto and Aquarius, it's not like you're the governor anymore, you're the CEO. So it's like, I think with Pluto and Capricorn, we were like, I'm the governor. Like, I'm the governor of this town. You know what I mean? Like, you're the governor. With Pluto and Capricorn, with the governor's drama and the governor's gossip and the governor's energy. But now it's Pluto and Aquarius. You're the CEO. So what does the CEO do? Like, the CEO needs to dress professionally. The CEO is not wearing a golf shirt and track pants. The CEO is wearing a professional shirt and a tie. The CEO has a desk. The CEO has a plant. The CEO knows the effects of psychology and the symbolism of objects and how those affect other people's energy and their energy field and the conversations. And I want people to start thinking about the effects of sculpture now, because I think there's something to be said about Pluto and Aquarius and art to me. I think it's a great time to start making art. I really, really want to start going into sculpture, actually. And I really start wanting to make these sculptures that you can place on your table and let it amplify the energy of your business. So, for example, if you sell burgers, we make a gold burger and we put it on a pedestal. And, like, when you're talking, there's a gold burger. And, like, you have that energy of this gold burger, and then it affects, the psychology of the conversation after. I like to think of good conversations as really well structured, and I think, ironically, Pluto and Aquarius is, like, really pointy, and it's really important to realize, like, just the level of pointing we're going to do in this transit and how it's going to affect our psychology for the rest of our lives. This isn't going to be governor kind of matrix. This is going to be CEO. So the CEO needs to take out loans sometimes. You know what I mean? There's no shame in being in a little debt. The CEO needs to reach higher heights. You know what I mean? The CEO needs to generate more income. The CEO needs to build a bigger business. The CEO needs to think about taking vacations as well. You know what I mean? Whereas the governor was overseeing more of the political aspect, the CEO needs to see more the financial aspect. And with Pluto and Aquarius, it's not harmful to really consider your finances and start thinking about outsourcing some things and simplifying things to get these visions going, because of a lot of, so for example, I'm in the Pluto Scorpio generation, but a lot of in-between generations have lost so much because of, student loans and debt, and that has stopped businesses from growing. A lot of businesses were taken back a lot of businesses went bankrupt over Corona and were actually, like, given back to the bank in terms of property, and that's created less opportunities for my generation to get jobs. So I think the future of this Pluto and Aquarius transit for us this year is start thinking of ways you can contribute to the light worker stratosphere. The stratosphere, this space of working in the 4D. Like, how can we contribute? How can we get other people to contribute without having to build these physical spaces where you have to physically go in and log in and get all the hardware and all those overhead costs? Start thinking of businesses with no overhead costs. So that means you don't have to rent out a physical space. Think about the 4D space being your physical space. Think about hiring other people to edit your website, to go take photos, to go do videography, have a moving image on your website. You know what I mean? The website could be about news. It could be about art. Just think about ways you can contribute to the stratosphere that are not just totally self-centered